Okay, this is probably gonna have to be a two-parter. I've tried recording this thing and there's just so much information I want to be conveyed. Bear with me, probably two parts. But it is based off the meme I posted today on foot injuries and injuries to the feet. It was pronation isn't a cause of injury. Flat feet, collapsed arches aren't a cause of injury. Your genetics aren't a cause of injury, and tight muscles aren't a cause of injury. And just to put this out there, in having worked with injuries and performance and in all levels of human beings at all stages of healing for over 20 years, feet, hands, and spine are very unique when they get injured, and there are certain rules that have to be followed even more so when it comes to these areas that you can kind of fudge on, and they're not as clear when it comes to knees, elbows, shoulders, or hips. These areas of the body were so important. I felt it would make sense to devote time and energy, hours, in a Zoom intensive, and I have that up for replay. We spent a couple hours on all things the feet. I might be doing one on the hands coming up. There's 7-day rental. You're going to need 7 days because there's a lot of information. There's a test that everyone can perform that's very specific, that will apply to everybody at all levels of function. And just knowing there's not specifics to specific injuries per se, because that'll never be able to be handled in a group format or a post of any kind. That's got to be on one-on-ones, obviously. But there's a lot of information that'll explain why you're feeling what you're feeling and why your feet would respond the way they would per the treatments you've done, per the actions you've done, per the choices you've made, per the surgeries you've chosen, and whatever else. It'll just help make sense of why your body would respond the way it does in that particular region of the feet, ankles, and calves. So that's there. So all right, we got that there. Now, across my horizon has been coming in ads and suggested posts and pages and everything else. Cause of plantar fasciitis and solution, cause of collapsed arches and solutions, cause of, chronic bunion, whatever, pain and swelling and achiness and solutions. And the solutions are never anything that actually coincides with how the body responds or what the body needs to heal. They're just more band-aids, fixes, and further attempts to disconnect you from you so that you can not feel what your body's trying to get you to feel about this particular region of the body. And then you couple that with the news around a couple popular names in sports in regards to their foot, ankle, and calf injuries, that being Aaron Rodgers with a ruptured Achilles, who's going to have surgery or had surgery, a new technique. And then Joe Burrow is brought to my attention, had a calf injury, I believe. I don't know. I don't follow sports anymore. But these are a big deal to them and a big deal to anybody who works with injuries. And so I wanted to touch upon something in that world, and I wanted to shed some light on things as you guys are going ahead and judging Aaron Rodgers. And then there are some trainers and some pages that are posting on preventing injury, or if he only would have done this and this training and this solution, and I just want to shed my 2 cents on it for what it's worth. Take it what you will. You can stop listening right now, or let's get serious, another level here. So having worked with in the NFL with NFL players for quite some time in college and high school sports for over a dozen years, there were in our facility in Chicago. There's something about the sports world that isn't understood. They break more rules in regards to how the human functions, how the human responds, how the human body heals itself, in an attempt to get these people to perform more, to perform sooner, and quote unquote to perform at the higher levels, which isn't happening, but just to get them back out. Because again, you invest your money in a player, he or she is great, this player is going to play for you and express skills to win games and get you a championship. And then fans come in the seats, your revenue increases, the stocks, your clout, it's all for entertainment. And that is what you are signing up for. So it makes sense that they would go about the way they're going about to get these thoroughbreds back onto the field of battle so that they can earn their contract, earn their team's prestige, and win a championship. That's why you play. That's the organization's job. That's what we got. So in no way is that create the healthiest version of these human beings who are expressing skills at the highest level. Although you'd think that in order to express a skill at the highest level, you'd also want healthy, but that's not the world we're living in. And that is definitely not the world in pro sports. So when we were working with people, what you'd end up seeing, injured athletes, is the highest concentration of the biggest rule-breaking scenarios ever. It would be every treatment imaginable, ultrasounds and lasers and icing and massage and rolfing and deep tissue this and scraping and Graston and stem cell injections and peptides. Peptides weren't around, but plasma. You'd get all the tricks, all the things, and you would see a supposed improvement in their function and their healing. What was the measurement of the supposed improvement? Well, usually swelling, inflammation, pain is a beautiful orchestrated response to damaged tissue. You would see a reduction in swelling, a reduction in inflammation, a reduction in pain. Yes, in general, that means healing has taken place. Because that's what the body does. It lowers those markers while it heals itself so that you no longer need to be aware of this. Well, they're not putting the person in a position to be able to heal so that the body goes and reduces those. They are going and reducing those markers with the mechanics of the treatment, with the mechanics of the cutting edge technology, with the mechanics of everything. So what is that? That's picking scabs. That's cutting tumors out. That's cutting out discs. That's breaking up scar tissue. And as I said, scar tissue is a temporary highway while the damaged tissue underneath gets built. The body brings in scar tissue on purpose to kind of bridge the gap. We go ahead and break it up, but the damaged tissue is it's not healed yet. So you can understand what's going to be the fallout of this, but the measurement is, oh my God, they're not limping. They don't have as much pain. They can perform. So you can trick out the body for a period of time and compete while that trick is going on. And it appears that, oh, this is working. This is a godsend. These breakthroughs, these teams, these specialists, sports medicine, physical therapy, passive treatments, this, that. So it's the highest concentrated level of breaking rules in human healing you could possibly imagine. And I mean, the shit we would see and hear from these athletes relaying, because we'd be like, what did you do for therapy today? What did you do for treatment yesterday? What did they have you do? And it was so fucking unbelievably toxic, but it dazzled the athlete, and that's not even counting the levels of medications that they're throwing at them, the levels of steroid injection, non-inflammatory process, all this, narcotics. I mean, the highest levels you could possibly imagine of pharmaceutical agents to get in the way chemically of the body and brain's response to damaged tissue. All right. So now what was our role then? Well, we had to go ahead and when we were presented with an injury and an athlete chose us as an aid and guidance and instructors in this, you're handcuffed because you don't have the ability to take the athlete out and say, okay, don't sprint for this period of time, or don't compete for this. Stop doing your treatment. It was hard for us to get compliance with that because it's almost like the athlete, when they're in this world, if they don't go to the team trainers and do all the team bullshit, they lose their coverage. It's like if you don't keep going to your doctors that are in your network, you don't get it paid for. So it's the same thing here. If the athlete doesn't go, and I understand it's all part of a team in this You sign up again with your contract to be a part of the team, and that's what you do, and that's it. So if that means breaking rules, that's breaking rules, but it's on you to go ahead on the other end of it and multiply things times 3 or 4 and play by the rules so much in your own life to offset the damage the team aspect is doing and the team trainers are doing subconsciously, because they don't know this, because they're not trained in this, nor would they see it your way, because they just don't look at the human that way. Inflammation, swelling, pain, scar tissue, all these things are methods of getting in the way of the athlete improving, not looking at it as a way to enhance. That if you could go in and accelerate that and go in and take advantage of that and then help adjust all these other markers in their lives, which are basically superpowers and magic, and you have access to these almost illegal access points, but that's not the world we're talking about. So we would have athletes come in and who had to go through their training and treatment, had to go to their processes. So the only thing that could happen when you're breaking every rule imaginable in an injury to get back onto the field or court of battle, the only thing you can do to survive that world is get strong as hell. And I am not talking about fitness strong, training strong, Instagram strong, physical therapy 3 sets of 20 strong, 5x5 strong. I'm talking the most ridiculous level of stimulus and focus and intention behind moving the body to where tissue growth response, the strength gains would be so radical and so earned at the pace of the person, because the person would determine it. Each individual would determine it, but that was the only saving grace, is you would just have this cloak of strength, and I've said this before, over all this other turmoil of bullshit going on underneath, all under this damaged tissue here. And you could get a grade 2 ankle sprain to play in the Super Bowl in 6 days. You could get a torn muscle. You could get a fracture. You could get all these things. And it appears like, oh my God, they healed in 6 days. What was the healing marker? Well, they played in the game. They're not healed. They're just so strong that they can function on top of a broken, shattered bone, a torn tissue, a dislocated, the amount of damage underneath, the strength would have to be piled so high, and it was not for everybody, because the cost was massive discomfort and massive participation. And everyone's going to be like, oh, you guys had an electrical device. And we did. We experimented with an electrical device. I'm not going to say the company, because I don't want the company to because we debunked it in just training. So it was just focused electricity to an area to force a person to move under load. No different than a 3-pound dumbbell. You can take a 3-pound dumbbell and get the responses we were getting with these electrical devices. It's not any different. The only thing that comes in, so we weren't breaking any rules per se. You break a rule when you say that the athlete healed. That's the problem. And when you use a tool and the person has a benefit from it, the psychology of the human, the healing human, comes back to the tool, unless they're educated in such a way as to say that this isn't anything that fixes you. This isn't anything that gives you anything you don't have already. It's just an input that your body's gonna have to respond to, but it's your body, brain, and cells that respond to it. But we would have people give credit to the machine. That'd be like us training at the highest level of intention and giving the credit to the 3-pound dumbbell when you heal your torn labrum or you heal your herniated disc. And that doesn't make any sense. We wouldn't do that. But when we bring in electrical devices, like, oh my God, the machine healed us. And that's why I've ditched the 2 machines that I used to have and participated in, because we maxed them out. We found that the human body is greater than any input that these class 2 medical devices could do. So that's the approach we took. And we had many cases that would come back and go back onto the field, and they would go back in wonder and be like, how is this even possible? Because the only saving grace during those moments would be to get as strong as you can. I'm coming up on 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop it here and do a part 2. Let's leave this. So pause, ...